happy Thursday. Welcome to the Steelers Roundtable. I'm Missi Matthews. Let me introduce you to our panel today before we talk about wide receivers and safeties. First up, Mike Prisuta. We dragged him out of the DVE radio booth to make him do some TV magic with us. As always, Bob Labriola of Steelers.com is here. And Matt Williamson, I know we keep forcing him to do this, but I did find out today Matt actually enjoys the roundtable. So don't believe anything that Matt says.
I thought he was being held hostage in the control room from one Thursday to the next.
Well, maybe. We're going to Indy next week, so we'll let him out for a little bit. But some news for the Steelers. They have announced they have found their wide receiver coach. That is Ike Hilliard, who played in the league and has been coaching in the NFL as well. This is his 10th year as a wide receivers coach in the National Football League. He was the 7th overall pick in the 1997 draft as well. So he has been in the building, and let's take a look at the group of wide receivers he will be responsible for as he starts his journey with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Some names a lot of people are familiar with, maybe a few here and there, not so much, but let's jump right in, guys. We asked for questions once again this week. So our first one is from Heather. Do you guys think that Deon Cain has a shot at the 53? Thought he played well and would like to see him have a chance to play with Ben. Prisuta, you raised your hand first.
Yeah, I do think he has a shot at the 53, and I kind of liked what I saw from him last year as well. He's an interesting guy from a physical skill set standpoint, and I don't think it's going to be an impenetrable position in terms of guys who maybe weren't fully established last year, finding a more substantial role this year. So, yeah, I'm a fan. He
was kind of plucked, put in, and, there you go.
Yeah, he does fit a physical he has some – he's a tall guy who is fast. And a lot of times you'll see teams want to assemble a core of wide receivers, where you have the little quick guy, the tall, fast guy, maybe the really fast guy. And Deon Cain provides something that a lot of the other Steelers receivers currently on this roster don't have. And so from a physical skill set standpoint, he has a shot. We'll know more after the draft is over, depending upon how the Steelers approach this position in the 3 days of the draft. But yeah, and I thought he showed pretty well, especially that week when he came off a practice squad and played in the next game.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I was shocked he was even available from the Colts. Size, speed guy with a little bit of pedigree, more of an outside the numbers deep threat, like Lab said, with some size. Kind of what they were looking and hoping to get out of Sammy Coates. And of the guys that they just showed on the screen, there's only 3 I'd put ahead of him in chances of making the team. You're going to keep 5 or 6, so I really like his chances.
All right, let's get to our next question from Twitter today regarding the Steelers wide receivers. Are there any upcoming free agent wide receivers you believe the Steelers may pursue? This question is from Dustin. Crickets.
Don't all answer at once.
Yeah. Well, I guess let me ask you,
I haven't gone over the free agent availables yet.
Okay.
I think they need a guy at the position. I think one of the biggest issues last year was the swing and miss on Dante Moncrief, and I don't, hold the front office accountable for that because the guy looked like he was the right guy in the right place at the right time, and then he got here and he stopped catching the football. But I certainly wouldn't think that a veteran, been there, done that guy who has a specific role would be something this team couldn't put to good use.
Well, the thing about this year as opposed to last year is, last year at this time, the Steelers had an inordinate number, an inordinate amount of salary cap money because of the Le'Veon Bell thing with him giving up the year of franchise tag money. So this season it's totally different. So first of all, we won't really know who all the free agents are until we get closer to March 18th. And the other thing is, who can you get who's a veteran with the amount of money that you have? Dante Moncrief, he got a decent contract.
Right.
And that was a swing and a miss, as you mentioned. I don't know what you might be able to find this season for the limited amount of money that the Steelers have, a guy who is good enough to make your team.
You can always restructure your deal and, free up a little money for him.
Cap space.
Labs deal?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my deal is getting restructured to pay Bud Dupree the franchise tag. Okay. So, as is everyone else's here, in case you guys haven't been told. But I'm just saying, I don't know.
That's money well spent, by the way.
I'm not discounting that totally, but I think it's going to be a lot more difficult than it was last year. And as we mentioned, last year they weren't successful.
The way I look at it is there's 3 guys that are going to make the team. I think Kane has a really good shot, as we mentioned. They're going to keep 5 or 6. It's a ridiculously good wide receiver draft. I mean, I don't think wideout's a big need for him, but there might be somebody in any round that's just too good to pass up. But that's a lot of youth. I mean, I think they need to find the Hayward Bay type, someone who's really good on special teams, who's been around the league, cheap. That might be after the draft, and provide some leadership in the room.
I'm going to stick with my initial contention. They need a guy to catch the ball.
Yeah, well,
I think that would be productive.
That's an outstanding place to start. But as Matt mentioned about it's a young group. There are no pending free agents among the Steelers' 10 wide receivers that they have on their roster. You know why? None of them have enough years of service in the league anywhere combined to even qualify. So yes, it's an extremely young room. I mean, Kane is 24, Washington is 24, Deontay Johnson is 24, Juju's 24, Johnny Holton will be 29, but he only has 3 years in the league. Switzer's 26, Henderson's 24, Custis is 25. I mean, it's an extremely young room, and adding a veteran would be tremendous. But as I said, I just don't know who might be available and cheap enough. And if he is available and cheap enough, is he going to be an upgrade over what you already have?
Yeah, I mean, you'd look for a guy with some toughness that's played special teams in the league that can be a gunner for you. Those guys you mentioned, I mean, Deion Kane's not going to probably run down on punts, and Switzer certainly isn't, and I'm not sure he even makes a team. The top 3 guys aren't, kickoff specialists or anything like that either. So special teams will be important with that guy.
All right, so with all this being said, where do you guys feel like this group is trending in terms of a whole?
Well, I think it's trending up only because they're all a year older and more experienced than they were last year. And who's that guy who's coming back at quarterback? What's his name? Oh, yeah, Ben Roethlisberger. I think that when you have a quarterback like that, he can help make these guys a lot better.
I think it's a big question mark. I really like the season Deontay Johnson had. I think he's trending in the right direction at an incredible rate. But the guy that worries me is Juju Smith-Schuster. We talked to Kevin Colbert a week or so ago, and Kevin regretted Juju not being healthy through a lot of the season. I get that he was hurt and his production was down a little bit because he didn't play, but when I think of Juju Smith-Schuster, I keep thinking of that fumble against the Ravens and the pass he did not catch at the end of the game against the Jets, and those are dovetailed with the fumble in New Orleans at the end of the season before, and all of a sudden he is showing up periodically, if not regularly, making plays that help lose games instead of making plays that help win games. It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. He's got great ability. He's put up some numbers in the NFL, but he's really got to become a lot more consistent quickly, I think.
24 years old he will be on November 22nd.
I think it's an ascending group, though. I mean, Deontay Johnson gives me a lot of hope. You've used a day 2 pick 3 drafts in a row. It's starting to bear some fruit. Juju's a tough eval, though. I mean, I don't know how healthy he was, and I don't think he handled being Batman all that well. He's Robin, and there isn't an AB in that room, and there never will be. I mean, but overall, I think you can manufacture a lot of offense with those 3.
All right, we are going to talk about safeties. When we return, we're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everyone. We are flipping over to the defensive side of the ball, talking safeties now. So to recap for everyone, let's take a look at who is currently safety first. Prisuta. Oh boy. All right. Yeah, I think Prisuta's trying to make it so we don't invite him back. But anyways, here are the safeties currently on the Steelers roster, and of course, with the addition of Minka Fitzpatrick, I think usually we're not too happy with this position group, but let's get right to the questions so I can ask you guys some questions. You can help answer them and see which way this group is trending. Our first one is from Bob. Has there been any improvement in Terrell Edmonds' game? 0 picks, 0 forced fumbles, 0 sacks. I recognize he had a lot of tackles, but is that enough on a defense that went bonkers this year with big plays and turnovers? Matt?
Yes, there's been improvement. I mean, I think he's looked at because he was a first-round pick with unreasonable expectations. If he'd have been the 40th pick in the draft, you'd say, wow, they got a solid starter in the second round, and just a couple picks later. His ball skills worry me, though. That's one thing I'm not sure will improve, making plays on the ball, finding the ball in the air. But I do think he is improving. Is he lighting it up? No, but he's fine.
Yeah, I think that we'll know a little bit more about Terrell Edmonds starting this season because, you know, when Minka Fitzpatrick was brought in on the trade, the Steelers put him at free safety, played center field pretty much exclusively because he was really getting in on a moving train. The Steelers were already into the regular season. And Minka Fitzpatrick is the ball guy. You know, he's the interception person. I'm not saying that you can't have others doing the same thing, but you know, if you look at the Steelers defense going all the way back to the Dick LeBeau first tenure starting in 1992, one safety makes interceptions. It was Darren Perry when they started. Carnell Lake did not. It was Troy Polamalu then, and the succession of other guys that they played next to him did not. So I don't know that it's realistic to expect Terrell Edmonds to have the kind of interception numbers that Minka Fitzpatrick does, but I also agree with Matt a little bit in that you see him sometimes in coverage at the, you know, at the point of
catch point.
Yeah,
right,
and
right.
He doesn't make the play. But you know, people wanted to run Bud Dupree out of here too, and now you know, we're getting our salaries adjusted to keep him. So you know, I would prescribe a little patience before labeling this guy a bust.
No, I'm not going to label him a bust, and I don't want to run him out of town, but I think a lot of times the coaches will tell you what they think of the guy by how they use him. When he was a rookie, he played every snap or almost every snap, right? And Mike Tomlin talked a little bit in retrospect about how that was faster than they wanted to. The way they had to use him was kind of circumstantial, but he was above the line given the, you know, the grand scheme of things and what he did. This year, by the end of the season, they were actually taking Terrell Edmonds out of the game in certain situations on purpose. It wasn't just not intercepting the ball, and everybody probably remembers that play in Arizona where he seemingly had it and it went through him. The big play against Seattle, which maybe that was a bad call, but it still went against him. He's got to cover better, and I think he's still a player in development. He's still young. He's got a lot of experience, but you always hear Mike Tomlin talk about that. I want to see the most improvement between year one and year two. I didn't see that from Terrell Edmonds. I saw a guy who still can improve, but I think he needs to have a better year next year than he did this past year.
All right, let's take one more Twitter question in regards to the Steelers safeties. This one is from Ian. What are the chances we re-sign Sean Davis or draft another strong safety and move Edmonds to Mark Barron's position? That's kind of a very loaded question. Labs is
zero?
answering easily.
Is this zero chance? None.
Simple, short and sweet. That's
yeah. I mean, there may be a time when Terrell Edmonds gets moved down into the box, into that hybrid linebacker spot. But again, this not this year. I don't believe that that's realistic. I don't know that he would be able to do that. I think this year, what the aim is going to be is to keep this unit together.
And in a perfect world, Davis is one of your backups, right? But he's probably going to go explore.
Well, yeah, he's unrestricted.
An opportunity to play, right?
He wants to leave.
Yeah.
More than the Steelers don't think he's worthy of making their team. And you know, as Mike Tomlin says about free agency, it's free for us and free for them, meaning the players. I would be shocked if Sean Davis doesn't actively seek another opportunity because he does want to start.
No, I guess theoretically there's a chance he doesn't see in the market what he thinks he's going to see.
I still think he
does. And then maybe his perspective
because
changes.
There's no visible path in my mind to the starting lineup.
Right.
If he stays here.
Agree.
All that being said, I don't disagree with you. Right now, they really only have Minka and Terrell under under contract, and they need to find 2 more.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of the wide receiver conversation. You better be good on special teams, preferably a veteran, some leadership.
Sure, and Sean Davis would give you that. But
Right.
again,
I don't know if Davis is that guy.
You can't,
but
right? You
He'd be the ideal backup, actually.
right, but you can't force him to stay.
Yeah.
Sure,
You,
sure.
I mean, and that's
you'd
that's,
love to play some big nickel
Sure.
if Barron's not around.
All of that,
Edmonds
yeah.
will be near the line of scrimmage
But again,
some more. But
I just don't see him staying.
Right.
I don't.
All right, so not just talking specifically about Terrell Edmonds and Minka, but just the overall group. Which way is this group trending for you guys, Labs? We'll start with you.
Way up, and it's only because of the one guy. I mean, in my mind, you don't have to look at anyone else. Minka Fitzpatrick, to me, was such a significant acquisition. When you look at the takeaway numbers over the previous few seasons, you were looking at a secondary or a defense, let me say, not just depending on the secondary, a defense that tied a franchise record for fewest interceptions. You know, the Steelers are close to 90 years in existence. 8 interceptions in a 16-game season where the opposing team attempted over 500 passes. I mean, 8 interceptions, you would think that more than 8 would stick in somebody's helmet. And the record was tied from 1940. So Minka Fitzpatrick, what he has added, opposing quarterbacks quit throwing the ball deep down the middle from the midway point to the end of the season because of this guy right here. Adding him, it's one of, I won't say it's the most significant move that Kevin Colbert has ever made because he did move up in the draft to pick that guy, was Troy Polamalu, who was going into the Hall of Fame. But I mean,
That also got me to a Pearl Jam concert.
but
That's beside the point.
I right now, I mean, without really thinking about it or looking it up, top 5.
And to your point about the interceptions, center field, right? If you watch the highlights we just got done showing, the one against the Colts, he stepped in front of the ball and caught it. The one against Miami, he played it deep downfield. A lot of the rest of them were just reading the play the right way, being in the right place at the right time, getting a tip pick, picking up a fumble after somebody knocked it loose. This is the kind of stuff that can keep happening. It's even when they try to stay away from you, if you have the intuition to get to where the ball is and then the skills to do something about it when it makes itself available. Yeah, I'm with Labs. It changed the entire landscape. I'll be the first to admit, or among those to admit, that when they made that trade, I thought you just traded away a top 10 pick because it's not going to help you. And it changed everything.
he's a superstar already, one of the absolute elite safeties in the league. On a
First team All-Pro.
Yeah, great player. And all the things that you guys said is 100% true, on a very manageable contract. We talked about Edmonds. Oh, back to Minka. I mean, he hasn't had an offseason here. He's going to be more and more familiar. He may come down and play the slot. He may blitz more. I think there's more in store for him than just deep center field, but that in itself has immense value. But like is a trend on the defense, the depth worries me a little bit, at almost every position on defense.
All right. Well, next week is the NFL Combine in Indy. It is Prisuta's favorite time of the year. He will be staying in Pittsburgh.
Because you guys are there and I'm here.
Couch. The rest of us, the three of us, will be there to cover it for you. Matt Williamson will be joined by Dale Lally and Wes Euler, correct? Jerry Dulac, too?
Yep, the four of us are.
All right. Steelers Nation Radio, complete coverage Tuesday through Friday. Steelers.com, the official Steelers app, will be your hub for all things Combine and Steelers related. We'll get a chance to hear from Kevin Colbert again. That period where you can tag a player, that begins on Tuesday next week. So a lot will be happening. Not like that, Prisuta.
No,
so
that's
yeah.
not it.
And the workouts will be in prime time, which is something different. Each team will only get 45 interviews compared to 60, which they usually get at this time of the year. So some changes. We'll see how that goes. But good for you in terms of TV coverage, right?
It's fantastic. I highly recommend it. I watch it every year. I DVR it, and I do so from the comfort of my very own man cave. So
a football junkie, as Coach Tomlin would call it.
Yeah, no, the coverage is great. If you're into the draft, check it out.
Yeah, and as I've said, if you're into the Combine, it's much better to watch it on television to get the information than it is to be there, because without the perspective that the TV people put on it, and a lot of the identification and the facts that they throw in as well. It's really confusing.
And watching 50 verticals in a row isn't all that exciting.
All right. Well, thanks to you guys for joining me today on the Roundtable. Thanks to you for your questions. We will see you after the Combine here from the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex.